Hi, I'm Paul Seal from codeshare.co.uk. Welcome to episode 7 of my series where I'm showing you how to build an Umbraco content managed website using version 7.6.5 of Umbraco. If you've not seen any of the other episodes, you might be able to get something from this, but you might also want to follow along. So I suggest you go back to episode 1. We are building a website for my friend Megan. She's got her own eyelash extensions training company, and she asked me to do a website for her, so I'm doing a website for her. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm doing another series for you because based on the feedback that I got from the last series. Anyway, let's get into what's this episode about. So it's about the navigation menu and pretty links. So on the site that we're working with, which is I Love Lashes, it's using the reflex template from Pixelarity. If you want to get to that quickly, it's codeshare.co.uk/reflex. That's my referral URL for it. I've set it up for it. And that's actually using what I call a pretty link. And in this episode, I'll show you how to do that. So on this website, we have a menu. And if we inspect that menu and have a look at the HTML, we've got an unordered list with a class of links. And then each of these list items has a link inside it with some text. So the first one being home, the next one being a bit of Latin for us. So in this episode, first thing we're going to do, so I've shown you how the navigation is working. Next thing we're going to do is automate the population of that navigation. So this navigation menu doesn't work with multiple layers. So the person who built this template just did it on the basis that you just do top level links. You can, if you want to, you can get it to work with multiple, but you'd have to edit the styles. So I'm not editing the styles on this episode, I'm just rendering it for the top level links. Then, so we're going to automate the population of that. Then we're going to have a look at pretty links. So when I said codeshare.co.uk/reflex, that actually goes off to the Pixelarity website with my referral link on it, and that takes you to the relevant page. So I've been able to set up a link on my website which goes off to another page on a different website. So we're going to do that as well. So perhaps my friend Megan might have an offer, or she might always recommend a certain product, and a good way of doing that is to use these pretty links. So we're going to set up the pretty link document type, and then we're going to get them working in Umbraco and showing up in the navigation as well if we want to. So let's get started with automating the population of the menu then. So when we first set up this project, we split out things into different partial views, and we've got one partial here called main navigation. Now normally what I do is I work quite closely with the MVC, so I have a model and a view and a controller, but some things don't always need to be done that way, and this is quite a small site, so I'm not going to go as strict towards model view controller all the time on this series. I did that more on the last one, so if you want to see how I did it on that, you can. But with this one, it's going to be quite light. I'm going to do most of the code inside the partial view. So we separated them out into partial views, and if we go into site layout, main navigation, we can see that we've got this UL class of links, and then inside that we've got these links that we want in the navigation. So, and then at the bottom we've got some buttons. Now, get started and log in. We don't have anything for that at the moment. We don't have a login or anything like that, but that might be a good one. Get started might be good. Maybe we could just link that to the contact in the footer. So I'm going to just hard code this to say contact, and I'm going to say href ID footer. And what that will do, so I just edited that. I'm going to reload the page, close that. So if I click on contact, it takes straight to the contact form. So that's a good use of that button there. I'm going to take off the login because we don't need it. I'm not going to delete it, I'm just going to comment it out, and in Umbraco to comment it out you use the @ star and then at the end star @, but also in Visual Studio you can use a shortcut for this. You can just do Control KC and that will comment it out on the line that you've selected. So now that we've commented out the login, we can refresh the page, click on the navigation, and there we go. So that way the contact button sort of stands out more than the rest of the items in there. So we've got that sorted. Now we just need to automate the pages on here. So in theory then, let's think about this. What we want to do is we want to have all, if we go into Umbraco for this website, so that's by going to the website address /Umbraco and then remembering your login details. Login, right, so what we're trying to say here is that I want to have all pages that are just underneath home, I want those to show in the navigation unless I choose to exclude them from the navigation. In order to exclude them from the navigation, I can set up a property called Umbraco Navi Hide. So I'll just make sure whether I've got that or not. So I don't think I have, so I'm going to create a composition and I'm going to call it Hide Controls. And I'm going to add a new tab and I'm going to call it Generic Properties. Click on Add Property, and this one I'm going to add at the end, but so I'm going to put a property called Umbraco Navi Hide, and if you do it like that, Umbraco recognises this, a bit like the Umbraco URL alias. Umbraco also, this is like a baked-in property that it recognises, so you have to spell it like that. So tick this box if you want to hide this page. And then add editor, always I go to reuse, and then I want to do a checkbox, true or false. And then I'm just going to click on submit. So it's not mandatory. I'm going to click on reorder, and I'm going to change that to 10, and then save. So now, if I go to my content page, I can choose compositions, and I can choose hide controls. Submit and then save. So if I go onto one of these content pages and I go to the generic properties tab, I can see I've got Umbraco Navi Hide on there. So that's good, and that will come in handy in a moment. But first of all, we just need to render out these links. So we've got this here. So I'm going to do a code block up here. So to do that in Razor, I'll just do the @ sign and then an open curly brace. So what I want it to do is I want to return an IE enumerable of iPublish content. So it's basically a collection of content pages. So this is pages, and this will equal. Actually, first of all, I need to get the home page. So from wherever I am within the site, I need to be able to go straight back up to the home page. So if we do iPublish content home page equals model.content Umbraco.assign content item, because we're in a partial view. Where it says @Umbraco view page, that'll be because we're using it as a partial view. So Umbraco.assign content item .ancestor or self. And then inside that, I'll just put the document type alias for the home page, which I think will just be home, lowercase. So to find the document type alias of a document, you just go into the document type, and it's this one here with the padlock. And if you did need to edit it, you click on the padlock, and then you can edit that, but it's not advised to edit it once it's been used. So that's what I'm going to use there. So now that will get me the home page from wherever within any page lower than the home page. It will go straight up, and I've got that. And from using that home page, now I can just say navigation pages equals homepage.children, and then in here this is where I can specify that I only want the visible ones. So they are the ones that haven't had the Umbraco Navi hide property checked. So I can say where, and then I'm going to use a lambda just to do x goes to x dot is visible, and this is visible actually checks that property. So when I said that Umbraco is aware of it, that's what this method here checks that. So get me the navigation pages where they're visible, and that's it. That will give us the pages. And then what we can do in here is we can do an @ sign, and we can just say if navigation pages is not null and navigation pages dot count, I like to do the count is greater than 0, then we're happy to work with that. I'm going to bring that up there, and the way I was bringing that up there was I was just highlighting it and using the Alt key and then the arrow up or down. You might need to set that up to do it, but my current setup works like that. So that will say only if there are some navigation pages to render, then start to render this markup. And then inside this, I'm just going to do an @ for each I publish content, and I'll just say page in navigation pages. So that's the property that we set up at the top. So for every page that is in there, I want to do a navigation link. So at the moment I'm just taking through that hard-coded link to the home page. Actually, that is a good point. We might want to always keep a link to the home page. So I'm going to just diverge, well, is that a word? I'm going to take this links out of here, so I'm always going to render the home page. I'm going to cut that out, put this back inside the for each. Sorry, it looks a bit messy, but we'll go back inside there, and then we'll just take this and put that in here. So now it's always going to render the URL with a class of links. It's always going to render the home page link, but then it's only going to render the navigation pages inside it if there are any. Now, if you see this red mark here just under this @ sign, this is because I've got, when I'm declaring an @ sign, it's saying I want to use a code block, but if you're already in a code block, you don't need to do that. So I can take that off, and that will stop that complaining to me. So with this page here, I can do the URL for this one here, so it's @ page.url, and the name I'll do @page.name. So the URL will be whatever the URL is in here for that page. So if I go to, what was it, generic, so that will be the URL that gets rendered, and the name will be whatever the name is in the top part inside Umbraco. So here, so that for that one it's home. For home it's home. For generic it's generic, and hello world, that will be the name there. So that's what we'll show in the navigation. So if I save that, that should work. We shouldn't have any issues with that. And with this reference to home, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it with a / for home, because that's the root of the site. So that I'm happy with it like that. So I'll do Control-Shift-S to save all, and then I'll do Control-Shift-B to rebuild the site in Visual Studio. Now it's built, succeeded, and we can go to the front end of the site, refresh the page, and hopefully we don't have any errors. But that's not always the case. Sometimes we do. So it's refreshing the page any minute now. So it's done. There wasn't an error, so that's a good sign. Click on the menu, and we've got home, generic, hello world, and contact. So that's really good. I'm happy with that. So to show you this property, this one here on generic properties called Umbraco Navi Hide, show you that working. If I do save and publish now, I've ticked that to say hide this. And then if I go back to the front end, you'll see that it's disappeared from the navigation once I've refreshed, because I've told it to hide that page. So that's the use for that. Now, Umbraco Navi Hide as the property name isn't really good for a user. So I'm going to go into settings, go into hide controls, and I'm just going to edit. I'm not going to edit the alias because I need it to stay like that. I'm just going to edit this. I'm just going to press save. So now if I go back into the content of that page, generic properties, it just says hide, so it's a bit more obvious what it is. Right, so that's the first part of this. So I've shown you how to get things into the navigation automatically. So that's the navigation sorted. Now there's this thing called a pretty link, which I was telling you about. So with a pretty link, if we go to codeshare.co.uk/reflex, which is the link I gave you to get straight to this template, so hit that. That actually goes off to Pixelarity's website with my referrer ID or whatever it is. So pixelarity.com/reflex. So how do I do that? Well, on CodeShare, this is the code that I used on CodeShare. Now, it probably is slightly different now because this is an older version of Umbraco. So let's go into here, and we need to create a new document type called pretty link. And I need some pretty link controls. So first of all, I'll do a new composition called pretty link controls. And I'm going to add a new tab. I'm just going to call it content. And then I'm just going to say link target in there. So enter the link for this pretty link to point to. And the editor is going to be a related links. Related links there. And then hit submit. Save that. So now I've got my link target, and we've used related links before in some of these videos. So let's go to we need to create a new document type called pretty link. So that will be another document type without a template. Call that pretty link. I'm going to click on the icon. And I'm just going to search for link. So I've chosen the color, and I'm going to hit save. So now I have a pretty link, and I want to choose compositions, and I want to use the pretty link controls on this. Some people might say you may as well have just put those onto this, but again, I don't like to tie any properties directly to the one that's going to be used with a template. So I'm going to create a template on its own, so not one that comes under web base, but one is at the top level here, so it doesn't have a layout. And I'm going to call this pretty link. I'm going to remove the space. So pretty link is the name of this template. I'm going to save, and I might try and get it to get the value of the pretty link using this insert. It may not work, so we might have to hard code it ourselves, but let's give it a whirl. So what we want to do is we want to get the URL from the property. So we're using a related links property for that URL. So let's first of all, before we do that, we want to actually create a pretty link. So let's do one that goes to CodeShare. So in order to do that, we need to allow the pretty link. If we click on home and then permissions, we need to allow pretty link to be a child of home. So I've done that by clicking on permissions, add child, pretty link, and then OK. So save that. And I also want to allow a pretty link to be underneath a content item as well. So I'm just going to do permissions on there. pretty link, save. And then a pretty link as well, I'm going to say can be underneath another pretty link. So they're all the permissions that we needed. So we can go to home, click on home, and then we can do a pretty link that goes off to code share. So I'm just going to call this code share. In the caption, I'll just say code share. And then in the link, as it's an external site, I would put in this .co.uk. But if I wanted to, I could choose an internal page. So I could actually point it to a page on the site. And then that way it would be the site URL / code share would get me to the Hello World page. But we've already discussed the Umbraco URL alias for alternative URLs. So we don't really need to set these up for internal pages, but it's an option for us. Anyway, so I'm going to close that. I'm going to choose or enter an external link. So I'm happy with the external. And I'm going to say I want it to open in a new window. Click on Add, Save and Publish. So let's go to the template. We've got pretty link. Now we're saying we want to try and insert a value here. So let's just do insert value. I'm not sure if this will work, but it's worth a go. So I want to get link target. There's no fallback field and there's no default value. It's not recursive. So let's insert that and save. Let's first of all just see what happens. So I'm going to go to the page. So code share. I don't think I've set up the template with the document type. So I'll just go pretty link in the document types, templates, choose the default template, and I want that to be pretty link, and then save. So now if I go to the content item, click on code share, click on properties, and then click on the link. So it's got a problem with that because I published it before I actually picked the template, or before there was a template associated with it. So I'll just pick that template, save and publish again, and then refresh. And then it should try and do something. So what it's done is it's saying it's got a related links object. So let's go into the code editor. So we've got some help with the IntelliSense, and reload this so that brings through the pretty link document template. We'll open the pretty link. And if we go to this here, it's saying that we've got an Umbraco web models related links property. So we can use that here. So in our code part at the top here, we can say, I want this type, so related links equals umbraco.field, take off the @ sign, we don't need that. So we're saying this is going to equal that. Now it's complaining, can't convert to IHTML string, because Umbraco field returns it back as IHTML string. So we can ignore this and we can just do umbraco.assigned content item dot get property value as a related links. Now if we do a using statement, because we're going to use this twice, we may as well put this in a using statement here. So do using, put that in there, then we can take this off and the related links reference would still work. So I want to say inside these angle brackets, get this property and bring it back as a related links. I want you to get link target. So that's going to get us back whatever was put in those related links. Now you could put multiples in here, but it wouldn't make sense in this instance. So we only want it to put in one. So we'll do related link, and we'll just say link equals related links dot first or default, and actually we'll assign this up here just above, and we'll set it to null to start with, and then we'll do an if to say if related links is not equal to null and related links dot count is greater than 0, then we're going to assign this link to have a value. So we'll take off the class in front of it, we'll tab it over, and then we'll just move it inside there. So now we have a link property. So next, we need to use that link. So let's just have a look at the code that I did on CodeShare for this. So what we're saying is if it's got it, then this is the link URL. So we can do this. We can just copy that, and then we can, in here, we can say if link in an if block like that. So if the link is not equal to null, then actually we'll just declare a string. We'll just move this up into here. We'll do a string link URL. Oh no, we don't need to do a link URL, we could just go into use it. So here we go. If link is not equal to null, then response redirect link.url. Oh, link.link.url. And is it? Okay, why has that gone? Link.url, no? Oh, it's just link.link. So the naming here is link, so maybe pretty link. I'll call the name of the property pretty link. And then we can say prettylink.link. So if the pretty link isn't null, then response.redirect prettylink.link. That's it. And actually all of this can, because there's no rendering happening here, we can just do that. There is nothing to be rendered, so it doesn't need to be outside of this initial code block. So if we now visit that page, instead of it showing like that, in theory it should take me off to codeshare.co.uk. So I'm refreshing the page and let's see, yes, it has done. It's taken me off the site over to there. So that's one part of it, but now we also need to use it in the navigation as well. But that's really handy, so anytime you need to set up any of those, you can inside, so you've got links off to other things. That's using what we call a pretty link. So the last piece of this is to, if we want this to render in the navigation, we might have a problem. So, well, let's have a look, see what's happening at the moment. So if I go to ell.localtest.me, it may already show up in the navigation and it may work straight away. Yep, it's got a link, and instead of going directly off to codeshare.co.uk, it just links to /codeshare, which then redirects to there, which I think is good enough. Also, another thing, if you had a deep level page, so if you had, say, a page here underneath generic, and I'll call it, I don't know, beauty tips, save and publish. Now if you wanted that to appear in the navigation, well, let's just have a look at this. It's not going to appear in the navigation. So to get that to appear in the navigation, you can create yourself a pretty link, and you can call it beauty tips, and you can, we're not really using the caption here, but you can then say choose internal page, choose, and point it to the page that is lower down. That one. Click on add, save and publish. So now when you refresh the page, you will see beauty tips is there. Even though it's a sub-level page, when it redirects it to it, it'll actually get you through to that page. You can also decide whether or not you want to redirect permanent or not. So at the moment this is like a temporary redirect. I think it's just redirect permanent. Refresh that, go to beauty tips again. So I think that's the difference with the 301 redirect and the 302 redirect. So you've got a choice, and if you wanted to, you could add a property to your pretty link controls that just tells you whether it should be a permanent redirect or not. The other thing to consider here is that the as it's showing in the navigation to go off-site, it's even though so slash code share, it's going to go off-site, and also it's not going to open it in a new tab because we've not set it up to do that. So let's just have a look at the possibility of the code which uses the navigation, which the navigation uses, just to check. Say if the document type alias is a pretty link document type alias, then just treat it as slightly bit different, get the link, and then look at the properties. So let's do that then. So for each page in the navigation, if page.document type alias equals pretty link, then we're going to treat it slightly differently. Otherwise, so do the else, and that can be just going off there. So now, as we know it's a pretty link, we can use pretty much the same code that we did on here to get the link. So I'm going to copy that, put this into main navigation inside here. I need to reference the Umbraco web models so that it's happy with that there. And then, so I'm saying get the related links, and instead of using Umbraco assigned content item, I'm just going to use page. So get this off the page that we're looking at. Then it finds the related links. It sets the pretty link value to be it. And if the pretty link isn't null, then we want to render the link using that one. So we can just do that there. And then in this property here, we can do prettylink.link. In this one here, we can do prettylink.caption. So if we wanted to, we could have that different to the name. So that helps with that. And then finally, we can do target equals, so this is where we do prettylink, so do at prettylink dot new window question, we need this in round of brackets. So this is where we're going to set the target. So we do new window and we do question mark. So if it is a new window, then we want it to render it using blank as the target. And otherwise we want to say null. Now my friend James from cynicaldeveloper.com, he raised this as a query. Let me just delete this line now. And he said when I did it on one of my previous videos in this series that maybe I should have done it as _self. The reason I haven't done that is because when you set it to be null, it actually, if there's an attribute that is set as null, it just doesn't render the attribute. So we can test that out. So I've saved that. That should work now. So, and it's only going to render this pretty link if it's actually got any related links and if it can find it. So let's see how the navigation looks now. So if we go to ELL, hopefully it doesn't break. It's not broken. So the CodeShare one now, if you have a look at this, it's pointing to codeshare.co.uk. So that's good. So it's going to go straight to codeshare.co.uk. I click on the link. It didn't go to a new window, but I think that's because I didn't set it to. So go codeshare.co.uk. I have set it to actually. So that's interesting. So let's have a look. So let's look at CodeShare link. So it does say target equals blank. So it wants to go off to a new window. Let me just refresh, see if there's any problem there. No, very strange. There must be something. I wonder if there's some JavaScript that's taking over there. Because that is a normal link, and I'm sure it's correct. It's an interesting one. Target equals underscore blank. Let's just have a look into that thing anyway, where we edit, untick that, save, and then save and publish again. Let's just have a look at this now where I don't have the new window set to true, so it's set to false. So my theory was that it wouldn't render the target as empty. It just wouldn't render a target, which is correct. So that's good. That proves that point. But it doesn't tell us why the target blank doesn't work. So that goes in the same window. So I would have expected if I did edit here, tick that, save and publish, refresh the page, click on this, and then click on that. It's not doing it in the same window. So the only thing I can think of there is that it's coming from some other script is interfering with it. But it's not really a concern at the moment. But I'll look into that in my own time and maybe report back on that in the next episode. So let's just recap. So I've shown you how to look at how the navigation menu is built. We've automated the population of this menu. I've explained what pretty links are. We've got them set up, and so you can give out those pretty links, and you can even use them in your navigation. And I've also got it to use it in the navigation where it actually can go directly to the source of the URL rather than the / whatever you called the pretty link. So I hope you was able to follow along with this. I hope none of it went over your head. If it did, just let me know, leave a comment. If you enjoyed the video, please click on like and subscribe to my channel. I like every time someone subscribes, I get a new notification that tells me, so I really appreciate that. And I also really appreciate any of your comments. Yeah, so I look forward to doing the next video with you, and thanks for watching. Okay, bye.